Welcome to our webinar. We will just wait 1 or 2 minutes for everybody to arrive and then we will get started. Great, I think we can get started now. So welcome to our webinar from Beverage Delivery to Waste Collection. What's your routing challenge? Thank you for taking the time to participate today. I'm Jessica Hablowitz, Marketing Manager at MBI, and I will be moderating this session. While we have done several partner webinars together with HERE Technologies in the past, we really wanted to take the opportunity to support our partners and customers with this one. Therefore, we launched a survey a couple of weeks ago, asking which features of HERE routing you would like to learn more about. Based on this survey, we developed the content for today's webinar. As you can see, the features chosen as most interesting were truck routing, traffic, and matrix routing. So these are the features we will focus on today. A special thank you goes out to the HERE team and especially Marek for joining us for the webinar with his expertise on routing. After a short introduction, we will hear how our HERE registered partners Casa Geo, SATLOG, and Senso Neo implement HERE routing in their everyday business for various use cases ranging from tour planning for breweries to waste collection optimization. Then we will dive into the routing features that you voted as the most interesting in our survey: truck routing, traffic routing, and matrix routing. Lastly, we will have a Q&A session where our expert Marek will answer questions that might come up during the presentation. The webinar will be kicked off by Karina Ziegelmüller, Global Partner Manager at MBI. Prior MBI, Karina was with HERE Technologies for about 12 years. There, she was responsible for building up the partner ecosystem in Europe and APAC, focusing on solution partners through various industries. Also, we are very happy having Marek Krysiuk from HERE Technologies presenting at today's webinar. Marek is a seasoned product manager with experience in a variety of industries, including edtech, finance, telecommunication, and location technologies. At HERE, Marek leads the product management for the family of digital routing services, which would guide you on your holiday trip in your electric car, as well as help optimizing logistics of multi-billion-dollar companies. Before we start, I would like to add a few information on housekeeping. Firstly, you've been muted to avoid background noise during the presentation. We will have some polls during this session and would like to kindly ask you for your participation. If you have any questions during the presentation, please use the questions pane. We will answer those questions during our Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If there's not enough time to answer all of your questions, we will get back to you via email later on. Last but not least, a copy of the slides as well as the recording of today's webinar will be shared with you later on. So enough talking from my side, let's get started now. Karina, please get the presentation started.
Thank you, Jessica, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for your time today. Again, welcome to our partner webinar with MBI and HERE Technologies. Some of you are already quite familiar with MBI, but I can also see some new attendees, which is great. So I'm just having a quick introduction of who we are. So MBI is a leading global data provider, which was founded in 2009 as part of the Michael Bauer Group. In the last years, we have established MB Micromarketing in Düsseldorf, added global mobile trace data, and acquired Conias, who brings a rich portfolio of global political risk data, for which we are actually establishing an academy soon. So if you are interested into global risk intelligence, stay in touch with us. MBI has also been a HERE partner for over a decade, and since last year, we are one of the first global distributors of the HERE portfolio. So next slide, please. Our portfolio covers a huge range of products like global boundaries and global market data. This information is leveraged by many partners and customers for various solutions. Global mobile trace data allows us to create new use cases such as daytime population density or retail focus areas, but also supporting new use cases in the mobility sector, especially when it comes to electric vehicle affinity. With political risk data, the Cogna's portfolio, we offer unique data which gives you insights into the political resilience of countries and regions to manage a sustainable supply chain. Looking, for example, at the German Supply Chain Act, the data risks can be identified, evaluated, and suitable countermeasures can be taken. Being a HERE distributor for the global HERE technologies portfolio is a perfect fit and underlines also one of our USPs, providing globally consistent and comparable data and services. Working hand in hand with HERE, MBI is offering HERE location services, HERE map data, and HERE traffic for several industries and use cases. So talking about use cases, well, let's get started right away with our partners. So I will introduce the use cases which we have chosen, and special thanks goes to Casa Geo, Satlock, and Sensoneo supporting us on that. Due to time restrictions, I am introducing them today. Starting with Casa Geo, who has been a MBI partner for several years, HERE location services have been added to their data analytics solution. Data analytics is very important, especially in retail. One challenge Casa Geo is looking at is how to find the right location for example business expansion with defined KPIs and combining all sort of data and by running different scenarios to provide the basis for further decision making. Casa Geo Spatial is a specialized solution for the data analytics platform Alteryx, which helps companies with the geomarketing analysis. Especially for expansion planning, it's important to layer various complex data sets to help understanding customer behavior, purchasing power, or like consumer spending. Most importantly, to bring this information into a geographical context by combining it with location data, in this case with your technologies. The tool supports address cleansing via here geocoding and visualization and location analysis through catchment area calculations, as you see it on the picture on the left side. So in this case here, isoline routing helps them to draw a catchment area either by time or distance. So we'll dig into the isoline routing later. For example, calculation. So where it's used for calculation of a location network for warehouses, for example, or defining food delivery. So just to make sure you receive your pizza hot and crispy, right? So Casa Geo has been using HERE technology services for several years. And why? Werner Keen says, who is the founder and managing director at Casa Geo, HERE provides a great data quality in general, and it provides fresh maps with global coverage. It gives the ability to process a huge amount of data and provides efficient features such as isoline routing and point of interest information. So, having looked at the planning use case, we're heading over to SATLOG, who provides tailored software for small and middle-sized fleets to optimize their processes from planning to delivery. So we come to the execution part now. Satlock has been using also location data and services from HERE Technologies for the past 20 years. So he is really one of the oldest partners in this portfolio. And since last year, July, Satlock is supported by us, by MBI, in our role as a here distributor, and we had made a great progress in that time. In this scenario, which we are showing here, is the challenge to bring more transparency into a delivery process. So the majority of Satlock customers and clients are transport companies who supply restaurants with beverages, beer, Coke, everything you need to stay fresh and cool. And working with those, Satlock has identified that due to the lack of breakdown of the absolute transport costs into individual tours, unloading processes, or customer stops, companies are often unaware of cost reduction potential in their fleet. And some of you who are a mid-sized or small company knows how important that is to really work efficiently. So therefore, Satlock has developed new telematic solution to identify areas for cost reduction and to implement this digitalization into the fleet. So in order to improve the efficiency of the fleet, an electronic workflow enables documentation, makes processes measurable, and thus opens the possibility for deriving suitable optimization measures. Delivery windows were often defined once and then neither revised or adapted to customer specifics. The SATLOG telematic solution helps to measure, for example, the kilometers driven or how many stops and locations a driver accomplished via the truck telematics. For planning purpose, SATLOG leverage here tour planning, here routing and optimization to increase the capacity utilization or to avoid like many detours or empty runs. Traffic information and track-specific routing is helpful to define those time windows and or react in case of unexpected traffic incidents. As a result, uncertainties about remaining driving time, estimated time of arrival, and idle times at the customers are eliminated. Dr. Stausberg, who's the owner of SATLOG, said that it's utmost important to work holistically with everyone in the process, starting from the managing director to the truck driver. So analyze their needs in order to provide the best solution. Having everyone on board is also helping to digitize and improve those processes much faster. So if you want to learn more, if you want to dig into that, please visit our website and you can read the partner story. Heading to our last use case, which is Senso Neo. Senso Neo provides smart enterprise-grade waste management solutions for cities and businesses, which helps to cost-efficiently manage the waste life cycle. Through its unique smart waste management technology, Sensoneo is redefining the way waste is managed. So the routing challenge is to enable to automate the management of waste collection routes based on precise, predefined data regarding waste collection vehicles, depots, and landfills, incineration sites. The aim is that every single waste collection route is planned to maximize the utilization of the customer resources like fleet, FTEs, time, and to minimize the costs needed to perform the job. The introduction of the route planning solution results in fewer kilometers driven per kilogram of collected waste and full utilization of vehicle capacity and time. More efficient routes help minimize the negative impacts of waste collection in the city, with less noise pollution, less air pollution, and fewer traffic congestion. So it's really working towards a sustainable inner city solution. Sensoneo route planning solution leverage here metrics routing, which helps to optimize and automate planning of waste collection routes. It combines the smart waste management system, driver navigation app, which is also based on here SDK with navigation. And it also incorporates the data from smart sensors and tags. So it's a super interesting solution. If you want to learn more, please visit their website or we also have linked a very interesting video in the contact. So if you are interested, please reach out to them or contact us, and we're happy to make the connection. And before we hand over to Marek, we would like to raise a poll. Jessica, it's yours.
Thank you, Karina. So you should be able to see the poll question on your screen right now. So we would like to know, which of the following use cases would you like to get a deep dive about? Is it business analytics for location planning, tour planning for food and beverages, smart waste management for cities and industry, or is it something completely different? Then we would be very happy if you could provide us with your feedback in the feedback survey later on after the end of the webinar. There you will have a question where you can put your input about other topics that would be relevant for you for future webinars. So I will give you some more time because I see your answers coming in, and then we will close the survey shortly.
So Jessica, which one would be yours? Which one would you be interested in the most?
I think I'm a little bit biased because I already know two of the use cases quite in depth because we did the partner stories on them. So I think I would choose the smart waste management because that's something completely different, and I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's right. The others, as said, you can check out also their short stories, but it's still a lot to learn, not only from the location side, but also the challenges which brings logistic with every day. So no matter which one you're going to choose, I think everyone would be happy to present their use case. All right.
Okay, so I will close the survey now, and then I will share the results with you. So the most favorite is tour planning for food and beverages, but business analytics for location planning and smart waste management are also did also get a lot of votes. I think every use case is interesting, but actually the most interesting is the tour planning for food and beverages, so the Satlock partner story, and I think that's also a very, very interesting one.
I absolutely agree. And for those who want to get prepared for the partner story, I just want to give you a quick hint. We have the MBI side on YouTube. So we did a tour planning webinar with our colleague from here, Amal. So please reach out to YouTube, watch the video, not now, maybe later. And we're going to prepare the next partner story webinar for you then. All right. Thank you. That was my part. And have fun with Marek. He has a lot of interesting information to share with you today. Thanks,
Thank you very
Jessica.
much. Thank you very much, Karina. And then I will give over to Marek now. So Marek, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jessica, for introducing me, and thank you, Karina, for introducing the use cases which are powered by routing. And as a segue from use cases, I would like to now show you and tell you a little bit more how the things look behind the scenes of those use cases. So how the routing works, what are the nuts and bolts of routing, and which routing features you can also use in your use cases beside what was already discussed. So let me just quickly talk about the order of things. I will start with a quick product overview, telling you about features and capabilities, describe the API and API features. Then we will go to the matrix routing, the sub service of routing API, isoline routing, and since we are moving as a industry and as drivers to electric vehicles, I will talk how we are supporting electric vehicle routing and how the electric future looks like from the route planning perspective. And at the end, I will talk a little bit about the things which we introduced in routing V8. If you are users already of routing, it's very likely that you are still on the routing V7. However, new version is already live, and you can already benefit from many new things which are implemented there. So quickly about the market segments, and I can just summarize the market segments routing is applicable to. Is just to say all of them. We are especially proud of automotive segment with 80% of market share, but actually the focus of majority of work and majority of new features currently developed are going to the transportation and logistics and the retail with public sector and telco trailing. So historically, we are very deeply rooted in automotive. However, things which we are focusing on currently, especially in routing, are in transportation and logistics. So let me jump quickly to the product overview. So routing is built on the three primary pillars, and we have two additional sub-services supporting routing in our family of product, at least in transportation and logistics market. So routing itself, this is the core. It's routing. You are familiar with features of routing as a customers and as a business and through the usage in your businesses. So routing basically calculates routes for multiple vehicles between starting point and destination, and multiple waypoints in between. Matrix routing takes those things from a very narrow perspective. It looks at the travel times or distances only to provide the results in large quantities and very high speed. So matrix routing is the perfect solution for optimization problems. And isoline routing. So we saw a great use case which shows you, which allows you to evaluate what is the reachability of your vehicles from a given point in given time or within given distance. And with electrification, it also extends to the consumption. Two other services not covered by this presentation, but worth to mention, is route matching. So reconstructions of the route based on the GPS points. And waypoint sequencing, so optimization of travel between the points. So if you have a deliveries between the multiple points, waypoint optimization finds the optimal sequence, and routing finds the optimal route. So few quick numbers in terms of the market, our market presence. So our experience in routing, actually the version number of routing V8 suggests already a lot of versions behind our belt. So we are over 10 years in the market in terms of the services, in terms of the router, in terms of a digital map. Here is 35 years old, so we started in mid-80s. And we are already very deeply in the market, serving more than 1,000 customers. Business customers with over 2 billion requests per month just for the routing requests, not even counting matrix, which is even more. So still, I will show a few numbers regarding to visualize the scale and scope of the routing. So we are present with track attributes in over 70 countries, with car coverage is well above 100 countries. Routing, we are, like, compared to the other routers, our focus is not consumer market. We are going beyond consumer market, so we need to address a multiple variety of use cases and user requests, which leads to a multiple over 100 different options you can use in when asking for a route. Number of waypoints. So if you would like to adjust a route towards specific, enforce a specific calculation on the route is over 200. So I think it's a bigger number of waypoints with over APIs, routing APIs in the market. We are generating routing instructions, maneuver instructions in over 100 languages. Traffic is, it has to be updated. It's in 75 countries, and historical patterns are available in over 100 countries. I will talk later about matrix, and it's worth to emphasize that matrix routing offers requests which generate up to 100 million routes in a single request. So this is by far the most performing and most capable matrix router in the market. I think just to give you a scale, Google at this point, I think, offers up to 30 by 30, not 1,000, but 30 by 30 matrices maximum. The same story is with Isoline, where our APIs offer up to 1 hour Isoline. Our limit is 9 hours or 800 kilometers. And in terms of a route reconstruction, it's basically you have unlimited number of points. So what we can do? Let's go to the more details routing API features. So we offer, as I mentioned before, we are covering over routing modes, over transportation modes, so everything which has wheels, it's supported by our routing. However, today I would like to focus mostly on cars and trucks. Currently, actually, motorcycles or even bicycles are also used in the last mile logistics, like the food and beverages delivery, at least to your doorsteps, are very often used by utilize those transportation modes. But currently, for the sake of time, main focus will be truck, and also I will mention cars, which actually also vans are legally going into this category. So we are not calculating just one route, because it's one route is which we are calculating is either fastest and shortest, but there are certain preferences of drivers or other aspects of a route which could create a preference for different selections. So we are computing up to 9 alternatives if requested, and the best route can be selected by variety of criteria. So what we are returning in the route response is not only route, not only geometry, but very rich meta information about the route, so which can be used to the selection of the route which is most suitable, which is best for the given use case, or most convenient for the driver. Departure time can be set for now, for current time, or in the future, or actually can be completely ignored. And this has a significant impact on the traffic usage and time-sensitive attributes, which I will talk about in a second. There are multiple avoidable options like toll roads, motorways, ferries, so whatever preference is for route selection, negative preference can be defined as an avoid option. When you are defining the starting and destination points, we are using very advanced way of matching points. So it's not only coordinates, it's also we are taking also other parameters, and also I will elaborate on this in a second. And you can set up to 200 waypoints as a stopovers, and also matching of them is not only coordinates, but you also can provide other signifiers to increase the precision of matching. You can, if you are driving special vehicle, or you have a special load which requires reduced speed, routing supports explicit speed capping, so you can set your own speed for a vehicle. And if you are planning, if your route requires to be at certain point at certain time, and we also provide the calculation of the route by arrival time. So I said about the advanced point matching, and what it basically means is that you can of course provide the coordinates of a point for the starting point, waypoint, or destination, but also you can explicitly indicate, for example, direction of a driving, direction of how your car, your truck is positioned on the road. So it's important, especially for the large vehicles with reduced maneuverability. This way you are avoiding making U-turns when starting. So we are getting correct heading. We are planning a route taking into account correct heading of a vehicle. It's also, you can define a more precisely road you are in. So when you have a multi-stacked road or roads in the airports where you have a stacked roads, then we can, using those hints, precisely locate and match you to the actual point on the map, actual locations your vehicle is on. Avoid options avoids multiple route elements, but also individual links. So you can specify that you would like to avoid this specific route or even the whole area. And we are supporting up to 250 route links and up to 20 areas defined as bounding box. When it comes to navigation, our recommendation is to use mobile SDK. However, nevertheless, we are also offering maneuver descriptions and route directions in descriptive format in over 100 languages in routing REST response. So if there is a need to visualize a route and provide the summary description of a route, it also can be achieved with routing API without mobile SDK. I said also that we are providing not just a route, but also rich meta information. And one of the important elements of this meta information are warnings on the route. So if there are some specific points on the route to which user has to pay closer attention, we are including this in the route response. So some examples of this information about the toll roads, toll booths, passing border crossing, and so on. Important element of those warnings is actually warnings when you are violating something on the route. Of course, in theory and in practice, you are specifying your vehicle parameters, what is your load and dimensions of a vehicle. But in certain situations, your route cannot be calculated. Let's say you would like to drive to an island connected with a bridge with a capacity of only 20 tons. Vehicles above 20 tons are not allowed on the to enter the bridge. So in the past, in the previous version of the routing, we were just failing with the information about the failure. Currently, we are calculating still the closest possible route and issue warnings about the violations, which about violations with conditions which are not met. Other meta information of a route is elevation plot. So elevation plot gives you information about the slope information for the roads. So what is the incline of a road? So depending on the on your load, depending on the vehicle power or type of goods carried, you can inform a driver about potentially dangerous situation, a difficult situation on the road, and either inform or use this information to recalculate the alternative, which avoids the steep incline in your route. Then the topic which you indicated as an important thing, important topic for your use cases and interesting case to discuss. So traffic. And I would like to talk about traffic in a little bit broader scope, not only as a traffic, but in general as a time awareness, because when you are there are many things on in regulations on the road network which is time sensitive. So, for example, you have a roads which have which are open only at certain times of a year. A good example of this is Finland, where you have roads on the frozen lakes, which are open only during the winter, and they are closed during summer. So our routing takes this into account. And if you are defining and selecting departure date, we are looking at the date or time, and we are calculating a route accordingly, avoiding over time restrictions, or using the routes which are open in this time window. And of course, we are not looking at your departure time, but we are looking into the future and the point of time when you arrive at this location in question. Then there is a traffic, and we are not basically just take the traffic and utilize this to compute the travel time. This, of course, as well, but traffic is used to find the optimal route based on the current situation on the road, but also looking into the future. We are using the more predictive approach, where we are not only looking at the current traffic snapshot, but also looking into how the traffic will change into the future. So after 60 minutes, we are using interpolation of existing traffic, current traffic situation, and historical patterns towards which traffic falls into. For planning cases, we are using historical traffic. So if you are planning your deliveries for later today, or for the next day, or for the next week, or next month, we are using historical speed patterns, historical traffic information collected over periods of at least 6 months. Yeah, so this is the traffic. We support traffic in 75 countries for traffic and live incidents. And when it comes to the historical speed patterns for planning, over 100 countries are supported currently. Now let's dive a little bit into more detail into truck routing. So this is a specific mode for large vehicles. So truck routing avoids, truck routing is optimized, takes into account both physical and legal restrictions. So things like the size, types of goods. So if you have dangerous or goods which require specific regulations, we are taking into account the information which is provided to routing and compute the route which is legally feasible for the type of goods you are carrying. We are optimizing routing, taking into account size of the vehicle, so we are avoiding turns and other difficult maneuvers. Of course, when we are calculating ETA, we are taking into account track-specific profiles, and the route themselves computed using adjusted route hierarchy. So they are optimized for performance for trucks. So despite of the high complexity of the truck computation, high number of constraints and limitations, our routes are computed in most of the time below 500 milliseconds, and even very long routes are typically computed and returned to the user under 1 second. And of course, with increased environmental awareness and environmental regulations, we are also supporting avoidance of zones, environmental zones. We also support driver times currently through the Fleet Telematics API. Support in routing is coming in Q1 2022. So we will compute not only for long trip, we also compute not only route itself, but also legally required stops on the way. Recent addition to the routing API, toll cost information, and toll costs are computed based on provided vehicle parameters. So we are taking into account all possible all possible regulations and variations of a toll cost calculation, depending what type of car, what size of the car, what type of engine is used in the car. So by providing us detailed information of a car in the routing request, we can adapt toll cost calculation to provided parameters. So you have high precision toll cost value independently of type of a vehicle you are driving. And it works, of course, both for trucks and for trucks and regular cars. I already said about a lot about the returned information in the route response. It's just a summary. I won't go into each individual items. Important takeaway from this is that routing is not only about the route. It's also it's not only about how to get from A to B, but we are also providing very detailed and rich information what you can expect on the route. And then let's go to the matrix routing. And I would say that currently, in terms of row volume, our number of row routes, number of calculated routed matrix is much higher than regular routes. So this is the matrix routing is the essence to optimizing deliveries, optimizing the distribution of load between multiple vehicles. And this is we are in the position of having very unique capabilities in the market. So first of all, our matrix routing is traffic enabled, not only for small sizes, but also for large matrices. So matrices up to 500 by 500, so 250,000 of routes can be delivered in synchronous mode in a few seconds. And if your requirements are higher, let's say you have a large distribution center where you need to make 10,000 deliveries at a given day, you can calculate 10,000 by 10,000 matrix for your optimization algorithms, and we will do this in several minutes. SLA is 30 minutes, but actually our results, our actual results are much shorter, which I will show in a second. What is important about matrix routing is that everything I said about routing itself, in most cases, applies also to matrix routing. So all the features, all the constraints, all the avoidance options are also available in matrix routing. So you are getting the same ability to adjust and customize your routing request like in every single route request, but now you can do this also for 100 million requests for 100 million routes at the same time. And just to show you the performance and the capabilities of matrix routing in the new V8 version of the service of the API. Those are the example, actually not example, but the best computation times which we achieved in our cloud. So of course they are not equal to SLAs, but actually they are illustration of what is possible if you are time constrained. So then we can, for the special request, go to sub-minute response time, even for 100 million routes. Of course, you still have to download this, so it's also response time, total response time will be constrained also by the network bandwidth, because 100 million routes, it's more than 1 gigabyte of data. But yeah, this is possible. Then isoline routing. So we had a very nice use case about the usage of isoline routing. Again, like with matrix routing, we are inheriting from regular routing over options, which are available in routing REST API, and they can be applied to isoline routing when you would like to compute reachability of your vehicle given time or for a certain distance of electric vehicles with certain level of battery charge. And this is you have an example of multiple routes with different traffic conditions. So this is on the left. You have a reachability of your vehicle when there is no traffic, ideal situation. And second one is with traffic. And third one is a similar case but reverse. So if from which point you can get to the destination within 10 minutes. So you can actually calculate the isoline routes in both directions, outwards facing and inwards. So departure and destination. You can select both departure or destination. And last, EV routing. So all the features which we discussed are for trucks and cars. Now actually they are serving also electric vehicles. The only difference is that we are with electric vehicles we are facing and addressing big EV challenges, mostly range anxiety and the specific features of electric powertrains and batteries. And I think all those issues and challenges in electric cars are currently widely known. So I will jump to the solution. So we are offering several features for electric vehicles. First one is the consumption calculation. This is the cornerstone of everything else which we are doing in electric routing. With consumption calculation, we can provide the range map, and more importantly, we can provide you a service which we're calling multi-stop routing or charge-aware routing. And charge-aware routing is routing which gives you the same comfort and convenience like regular A to B routing. So you are providing just start point and the destination, and we are doing the rest. We are computing over not only a route, but the whole charging strategy, and telling you not only where to charge, but to charge to which level. And to be able to do so, we are requesting to provide us consumption model, which has a benefit of being flexible and adaptable to each individual vehicle and even each individual driver. So consumption model is a dynamic parameter which allows you to compute the different consumption model when you are driving with empty vehicle or fully loaded vehicle. Of course, when with different load, with different number of passengers, consumption is changing. And when you look at the other EV EV APIs, EV services, they are usually asking you about the type of vehicle. In this case, you can be much more flexible and adapt consumption model, and not only to a specific vehicle, but also specific conditions in which vehicle is, external conditions, and even driving style. The same applies to the battery. It's less dynamic in the practice, but with the time, battery degrades, and you can also take this reflect this in routing request. Actually, in trip planning request for EV vehicles. And then finally, EV routing range map. You can calculate the isoline, which we described in which I described in the isoline section. So you can do this isoline range map, reachability map for electric vehicle, taking this consumption model discussed on the previous slide. And now I would like to conclude with a quick overview of differences of routing V7 versus V8. V8 is our official stable version. V7 is in maintenance mode, so it's getting only critical bug fixes. No new features or no non-critical fixes are delivered. So the most important thing in V7, especially for transportation and logistics, is a completely new track routing algorithm. So it's more precise and faster. Introduction of a soft restriction. So this is what I described in the warning section. We are not failing when a route is, let's say, impossible. We are creating a route with information about violations. So always you can adapt and you have information what is needed to adapt to get the legal and feasible route. We separated avoid difficult turns from U-turns because there are different capabilities of different vehicles, and sometimes only U-turns should be avoided. We added tolls information. We also added option to return to the route in the case of detours. Avoid segments was increased from 20 to 250, and we introduced various ETA improvements, especially in terms of junction and turning penalties, in terms of heavy trucks. And by the end of the year, we also will introduce new redesigned ETA model for trucks in general. So by the end of December, you will see also additional improvements, additional quality improvements for ETA calculation for trucks. And this is my last slide. I think we now can go to questions. I'm sorry, I ran a little bit over time, so we have just 8 minutes, but back to you, Jessica.
Thank you very much, Marek. So just give me 1 second.
We got many questions actually, right, Jessica? So,
Yes.
your time is not over yet, Marek.
Yes, we have a lot of questions. So now we will move on to the Q&A part of the webinar. So thank you for sending in all of your questions, and we will try to answer as many as possible now. But if the time doesn't allow us to discuss your question now, you will be provided with a follow-up email. So let me open up our questions. So the first question. Hi, do you plan to add delivery van to routing API, so a larger car that drives faster than the truck but slower than a car? We have customers, taxi companies that have minibuses with up to 9 people, which need more time for routes, not accelerating so fast because of the passengers inside.
So great question. Is actually I have 2 answers for this. So first one, yes, we support this through the speed capping. However, I don't think this is a complete answer, and it helps with this acceleration issue. From our data and our observation, it seems like, especially in the urban areas, you are more constrained by traffic rather than the engine power. So impact of other vehicles really constrained you and your travel speed. So I don't think that this is the ETAs and travel times vary so much. So I think that the maximum speed limit, actually maximum speed vehicle is driving has larger impact on that, and this is already supported. However, if it's not the case, we have specifically designed for those cases framework, ETA assessment framework. So if we have a probe data from the customer, we can assess ETA precision for the given use case. So at this point, there is no plan to create this specific ETA profile, let's say, in the middle. However, if there is an issue and if there is a case, we are willing to, if data is shared with us, we are able to assess the quality gap.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So there's one more question. Where do I find some examples?
It's actually, this is even better question. It's actually, you can generate examples yourself, meaning that we have special demo tool, and it's maybe we can share the link to the demo after the call within presentation. I will add this link to the presentation. There is a demo tool where you can generate all those requests I was discussing. So there is a visual tool where you can, if you would like to create a route which avoids, let's say, certain area, you can by very simple point and click create request for yourself. So it's actually better than examples. This is example generator, and it works. It's a little bit more complex than typical consumer maps, but if you understand the topic, it's you can generate examples in minutes.
Jessie and I will share the link as a follow-up on the webinar, so you can access the link and create your examples. Thanks.
Okay, so the next question, there's also here Fleet Telematics API. When use this?
I would say whenever you need. I think that the question is actually about the routing features in Fleet Telematics API. So those features are in the process of being migrated. So one example is the toll cost, other is rest time. So those are our features for years in Fleet Telematics. And actually this duality of routing features being distributed into APIs was a problem. So we decided to merge those two APIs. So routing API will, in a couple of months, will embrace all the features, all the routing features of Fleet Telematics. Of course, still you will there will be specific Fleet Telematics features like route matching or waypoint extension, waypoint sequencing extension, which will have their own APIs, but the rest will be under routing API.
Just one more thing, we're getting too many questions and we cannot answer them all. So Jessica has one more to ask and then we need to close, but I promise we will send you the answers within the next working days. And we can start the communication on your questions because I'm sure there will be more follow-up questions coming. Jessie, thank you.
Okay, so I will have one final question for you, Marek. So how long will routing version 7 be supported? Because not all features from Fleet Telematics are fully integrated in version 8 yet.
So I actually have a very good answer for this. End date and end of life date wasn't announced. So the clock will start ticking after end of life date will be announced, and probably it will be at least 6 months, more likely 12 months. But this wasn't announced yet. So of course it will be much longer than that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Marek, for answering all those questions. So as Karina already mentioned, we have a lot questions that we didn't have time to answer now. So we will provide you with a follow-up email. And if you have any additional questions that come up after our webinar, please don't hesitate to contact us. You have our contact details in this slide, and you will also have it in the follow-up email you will get. So now we are reaching the end of this session. And again, we will share the slides and the recording of this webinar with you. And we hope that we were able to give you a small but interesting insight into the HERE routing version 8 and its real-life use cases as well. So thank you very much to our presenters, Karina and Marek, and thank you all for taking the time to attend. Since we are always very interested in your feedback and of course want to improve further, we would really appreciate it if you would take the time to answer some feedback questions right after the webinar. If you don't have time now, you will also be able to answer them through a link provided in the follow-up email you will get. So thank you in advance and have a great rest of the day.